Well, good morning, Internet students. Hope you had a great couple of days here. Got another video here for installing gables and also log siding and your loft windows in your log home. And the tools that you're going to be needing is hammer, cordless screw gun, tool belt with ample supplies, as my usual statement, level and square. You're going to have stained 1x8 beveled log siding, usually 16 feet long they come in, but you can buy them with 12 feet long. Window bucks, which you're going to make yourself because they're custom windows for your loft. If you notice, the loft has a slanted top to the window, and the bottom is going to be flat and square. And then I would rent a lift because these are going high up into the log home loft region. Remember, our loft region is for a movie theater and also a library, a fully stocked library. So we definitely rented a lift to get our windows and log siding up in there. So, all right, step one, planning the milestone. So, students, before you get started, I want to give a big tip here. You're going to watch tutorials online, and much can be gleaned from these granularities of information within your building process from good and solid videos. So what I'm driving at here is you want to watch videos from experts and not from Billy Bob's techniques relating to how he fumbled through installing such and such, during such and such time. So to me, there's a treasure trove of information out on the internet, and typically from professional corporations, which I stated before. Some of these companies have tutorial videos, which you can go ahead and click and understand what you're going to tackle for the day before you even start out to do it. Then it's a great idea to make copious notes and also to purchase the materials and understand if you need to have any new tools. I remember for one time I was doing interior walls and I had to buy a copycat, which basically did the contour of the logs exactly because I have double D logs, so they're round on the inside of the house as they are on the outside. So when we build interior walls, you have to take into effect the contour of the log so that you can have a nice butted interior wall. So that was kind of interesting to learn how a copycat works. So there's a lot of research on the internet that you can do, and I recommend understanding every component of your task before you get started. So, all right, step two. So we're going to order the custom loft windows. Now the loft is up above your great room, and in my case, it's roughly 20 feet high inside. When you walk into the great room, you look up 20 feet in the air, and there's massive custom beams that I've hewn and also installed. And like again, I wanted this to look like a 15th century Catholic church, and with all the custom woodwork inside, and it really looks sharp inside. So, but the goal here is to install, large slanted topped windows with the flat bottoms into your window pockets for the loft, which you have created for your when you created your gables. So log homes typically have these slanted windows, which allow a lot of light into the log home. And, in my case, the two inside windows are 7 feet high, center to center, and the outside two windows are 4 feet high, center to center. And you can see from the picture. Also, I had a certified architect go ahead and devise up plans which were easy to follow, and also the architect also understands stresses, loads, load-bearing walls, beams, and he already had everything outlined for me, the type of ceiling trusses to purchase, and then the beams inside the home, and they're called gulam beams, and things of that nature, which I did not know. Even have an electrical engineering degree, we don't calculate in electrical engineering stresses and loads and structural engineering techniques. Of course, we do calculate loads, and I can build out an entire military base electrically from my schooling, but building a home, it's much different engineering than electrical engineering. So it's good to have a certified architect. That's my tip here. Step 3, construct custom loft window bucks. So imagine your custom windows are on order. You calculated the right dimensions. You called the company, and now they're starting to manufacture them. So I put that as step 2, by the way, because you need to order these windows as you continue your milestone here. So step 3 would be construct the custom loft windows. The bucks that will house them into the wall themselves, the gable. So go ahead and take measurements again, and you're going to construct the window bucks for all 4 windows. And these need to seat the window properly high up into the gable. And it also has to be thick enough of a buck to hold the window in place. And then you're going to have to seal the window, which silicone usually is very good to use. So I used 2x4s as would be enough space for the window box. Since you will be working over the great room for the next few months, I went ahead and constructed a scaffold to ease my workload. And it was easy to stand on the scaffold and install windows and do some staining and wiring and installing light fixtures, and then making tweaks of odds and ends as needed. So back to the window buck here. So you're going to have 2 parts of the window buck, and I went ahead and nailed the outside of the window buck. Well, actually, I screwed it into the window opening, and that'll be your backstop for the window insertion. So that way you can't, when you lift your window up and place it into the cutout of the gable, it should not fall outside the home. It should stop against the backstop. So, and I did that when I hoisted the windows up and inserted them. So at this point, your windows should have arrived, and you should already have them measured and in order. And your 7-foot windows will go into 7-foot slots, and your 4-foot windows in the 4-foot slots. So go ahead and hoist up the first window. I did the 4-foot window first, and install it. Push it into place against the backstop of your buck. And then you can use shims to make it level and secure between all 4 sides abutting the window opening. Once the window is secure and snug, install the inside window buck. Okay, that's opposite of your outside one. And this will finish off the installation process by screwing that window buck in. Now your window is secure, it's shimmed, it's level, and it's almost water resistant, but not quite. But you're good to go. You're not going to get flies in there. So, the step 4 would be installing the gable log sidings. But make sure you do this for all 4 windows. Just to backtrack here, repeat the process for all 4 of your windows. So you got the 2 7-foot windows in the middle and the 2 4-foot windows on the end. And then you want to put a bead of silicone from your window buck and seal in your window on both sides. And then on your interior wall, video that's coming up, video 29, you're going to actually put in the framing around the window buck, and then also you're going to put in the framing around the window itself. And there's a 2-step process, but it makes it look sharp. So then you can check that milestone off your project plan at that point. Now we're going to go to the outside of these windows, and it's going to be installing the gable log siding. So this is step 4. So now that your fascia and soffit are installed according to your certified architecture plans, next is another cosmetic installation, and it's going to be on the outside of your home to cover up the square footage of your gables. Remember that your gables have black tar paper, so you want to cover that up with log siding to make it look like logs are going up. You want to rent a hydraulic lift due to the log siding being much heavier than the soffit and fascia pieces combined. And it's easier to stand on this and do your cuts and measurements and go ahead and put up your 1x8 beveled pieces, which actually come in 16-foot lengths for me. And it'll take some woodworking skill, as you can see. You got to go around the contour of the window, and also you're going to be working off the lift. And it'll require some beveled cuts, fancy angles, and some fastening. You don't want to be climbing up and down ladders to make this happen. So again, I recommend a lift. The end goal with log siding is, start at the bottom of the gable and then cover the entire course, move up incrementally each course till you get to the top of the gable, which is the peak. It will actually look like real logs and will be watertight when you stack them up the entire gable. Remember that there are many angle cuts around the window, and it might get tricky and cost you some time, but take the time on your DIY project and make it look sharp. For each corner, I extended them out to overlap, and then I used the molding that I made out of 1x6s, and that also looked very sharp as well. Be sure that you have tar paper over all of the gable square footage prior to fixing the log siding. You can use Icy Shield as mentioned in the roofing video, which is kind of a rubberized tar paper, and it has a sticky back that you have to unstick and then paste it on your wall. And that actually covers a lot more durably than the tar paper itself, and it doesn't really blow off with wind either. So, well, that completes the gable siding. It wasn't that difficult, but there's 4 gables on my house, which I had to complete. And it is also a delight in the Rocky Mountains here to sidetrack, to see animals on the property. As I mentioned before, you have the occasional moose, the curious antelope, the feeding deer and elk deer, a grizzly bear, the lone wolf, and some even the pack of coyotes that are howling off in the distance. So in closing, I wanted to show a video of some more wild animals, and here are some wild horses throughout the northern Rocky Mountains that frequent our property and enjoy our company. So go ahead and have a look at this. And then step 5 in closing, I want to illustrate another portion of OPSEC, operational security, which is a military term. Be mindful of nosy neighbors, people who are too nosy and have too much time on their hands. And they will come down to your property trying to be friendly, but have already checked out your public records and will know more about you than you want them to know. So for instance, your public records would have your name, your current address, like say you're from out of state, it would have the current address, they know where you're from. They could do internet searches on you now with your address and name. They find out who your wife is, who your children are. They find out your occupation. They find out your criminal record, background record, credit score. They have all of this information at their fingertips just by knowing your name and your current address. However, I stopped them in their tracks because I knew that the kind of people that live out in the wilderness areas are these types of people that like to, I would say, mildly cause problems. Because my property deed was purchased through an irrevocable trust name, which does not tie to my real name, nor is it tied to any of the current state I live in or even the state I live in the American Redoubt region. And so there's no name or address of even me out of state or in state. And, I want to warn you, internet students, that this is probably a good piece of advice for you because you want to have peace of mind and, understand that, even the government tracks everything as well. And the NSA has a database in Bluffdale, Utah, where they store all information. But if you use a power of attorney and an irrevocable trust that doesn't tie to your name, social security number, address, and things, not only will your neighbors not know who's living next to them, but the government doesn't even know that you're there, because everything is basically in a power of an attorney at that point. So anyhow, I wanted to conclude with that. Hopefully that tip helps out. And please click the like button below, and then be sure to subscribe to our channel. And then if you can, drop us $5 to $10 donation. I know I ask for this at the end of every video, but look at all the other nonprofits out there that do the same thing. So, and we have a lot of free information here, which I think is very valuable to our internet students. And we want to continue to keep all this information and resources free at www.university1310.org. Wishing you and your project well, and Godspeed, internet students.